All right, welcome everyone to Empowering Women to Have Healthy Relationships. I am Antoinette Walton, and I am the founder of We Empower Her. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is going to be an interactive webinar with We Empower Her, and Dr. LaTia Greer will be also co-facilitating this with me. And our mission at We Empower Her is we want to uplift, empower, and encourage women through education. So I just want to touch on that just a second because I think that's really important, especially in our climate. Women are getting more and more positions of power. Women are becoming more and more aware of themselves and the things that we can accomplish. And I really truly believe that when we empower one another, that we can definitely do whatever we put our minds to. So that's why the mission at We Empower Her is to uplift, empower, and encourage women through education. Um, at We Empower Her, we actually have different types of educational webinars that we do once a month for free for the community. And they range from domestic violence to financial education to what we're doing now is empowering you through healthy relationships. So we want to be able to provide as much education as we can on different aspects of the life of a woman, because then that helps you go and be empowered in the world. So again, I am the founder of We Empower Her, Antoinette Walton. We have been in business since 2020. We became a nonprofit last year in 2023. So very proud of that. We have done quite a bit of things in the community, and that was my goal and my dream and aspiration as the founder of We Empower Her to help us become more involved in the community as women, and like I said before, empowering one another in the community. So we do have breakout rooms. Um, I guess we may not go into a breakout room for this because we don't have a lot of people in today. So for this, we'll just all do this together. However, typically when I do the breakout rooms, I don't record that part because I want everyone to feel comfortable and safe to say the things that they want to say. So I'm going to stop recording at this time just so that we can feel comfortable. And then I'll start recording again after that. Am I even recording? Did I start recording? I did. Okay, so let me stop the recording really quick. All right, so we are going to have Dr. LaTia Greer. She is Psych D LCPC, Chief Wellness Officer and Licensed Clinical Therapist for Authentic Heart Behavioral Health and Wellness, PLLC. She is going to walk us through how to have our healthy relationships and add a little bit of seasoning to the recipes we just created. All
Okay.
right, thank you, Dr. Greer. You can take it away.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone who is in the room. And so, yeah, we want to talk a little bit about that relationship, that relationship recipe that we just had. And so I'll add a little bit more to it so that we can kind of round that out. So, welcome to, my name is Dr. LaTia Greer. I am so sorry. I am a mother. I am a wife, an Army veteran, a breast cancer survivor, a sister, right? And I am like all those things that we are, but I am also me, right? So me. So I'm just who I am, right? I am honored to speak to you today, and I have dedicated my career to empowering women in improving relationships. I know as we continue to go throughout our day, we see a lot of things that's going on with relationships, and it's looking kind of crazy out there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So I'm going to ask a couple of people to come off of mute. Just ask, what do you believe is the most important foundation of a healthy relationship? And so let's see. Anybody want to come off of mute and tell me, what
I'll
do you
go
think is
first.
the most important?
Mine is communication. I think communication is the key 100% for me.
Okay, so communication. So that's the foundation, your foundation. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, I would say trust.
Trust, definitely trust, right? So we put that trust in there, so we know we got that in there. Communication. Anybody else? Okay, no worries. So we're going to start by at least defining what a healthy relationship looks like, right? A healthy relationship is based on just those things that you all talked about. And I think we already kind of put it in our recipe was honesty, right? Communication, trust, mutual respect, support, and then shared values. A lot of these things, and usually we miss a couple of these things in here, right? Whether it's mutual respect, and we'll talk about that as we talk about unhealthy relationships. But these are very important. They help either whether you're in a intimate relationship or whether you're in a just a friendship or what have you, whatever relationship that you're in, these are the key factors that you kind of need in order to keep that relationship going. And so that's where both partners or whoever it is feels like they're most valued, that they're heard, and that they're free to be themselves. So yes, mutual respect, trust, honesty, support, communication for sure is open and clear. Conflicts are resolved in a constructive manner. And there's a strong foundation of equality and partnership in healthy relationships, right? So with those healthy relationships, there are some things that are pretty good, but then there are some things that's not so healthy. And so let's talk about some of those things that's not so healthy. So those key characteristics that we talked about in a healthy relationship is just the opposite in this relationship, in an unhealthy relationship. So on the flip side of it, unhealthy relationships are marked by a lack of trust, disrespect, and poor communication. These relationships involve either one person having power or control over another person, intimidation, fear, all those things. Conflicts are often frequent and handled destructively in unhealthy relationships, right? And so those may be those unhealthy traits that have other people feeling they're trapped, they're undervalued, or they're just emotionally drained, right? So we definitely want to talk about those things. So in relationships, the reality of it is that there is no perfect relationship, right? There's no perfect relationship. Every relationship has something that goes on, and we call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, the ugly may get is a little bit more intense, and we'll talk about it. So a good relationship, just like we talked about a healthy relationship, is the good side of those interpersonal relationships that we have. It includes a deep love, a connection, support that other people provide you, the growth they provide. Those are different things that are part of that good. And with the good, it can provide different things like emotional support, right? Personal growth, shared experiences, physical and emotional intimacy. Those are what the good part look like. But then there's the bad part. And it's bad, but it's kind of like, it happens, right? So you have communication issues, right? Misunderstandings and failures in communication. This is a big thing, right? Can lead to frustration. It can lead to resentment. It can lead to straining the relationship. Differences in needs and expectations. That can be something that can hinder a relationship from growing, right? Differing in expectations regarding relationship, personal space, intimacy, or even life goals. And so then there's jealousy and insecurity, right? These emotions can arise from internal insecurities, relationship dynamics, potentially leading to controlling behaviors, right? Or mistrust. And then there's like routine and boredom. All could be wrapped up in a bad relationship. Now, the two probably could balance each other out depending on, but we'll talk about that. Now, the ugly of it and what we probably been seeing now more and more in social media and different spaces of that nature is abuse and neglect, manipulation, control, betrayal, infidelity. Y'all been on TikTok and stuff. Don't act like y'all ain't been on TikTok. Y'all done seen this stuff, right? So it's some ugly things that are really going on when it comes down to relationships. And so we want to make sure that we maintain healthy relationships, because most of the times we find challenges in being stuck in relationships that do us no benefit, that gives us no benefits at all. And so some women, because of where we are in these relationships, some women can have low self-esteem, not may feel unworthy of being in a healthy relationship, thinking that they don't deserve to be in a healthy relationship. There's also the social and cultural pressures, right? The societal norms of can sometimes push women to stay in unhealthy relationships for the stigma being around, being single, or expectation, or stay in relationships at all costs. And these are things that I've heard of, and I know other people probably have as well. And then the fear of loneliness, right? The fear of being alone can be a powerful motivator for staying in an unhealthy relationship. This fear might lead to some women to try to tolerate unhealthy behaviors just to avoid being lonely. Then there's some things that may happen where there may be some financial dependency, right? Economic dependence on a partner, or can trap women into unhealthy relationships, thinking that because they are supported financially and they have a dependency on a financial aspects, that they kind of get stuck there as well. And then there's simply, the lack of awareness or denial, right? Sometimes women may not recognize signs of an unhealthy relationship, especially if there's no physical abuse, right? And so emotional and psychological abuse can be just a little more subtler, right? It's a little more under the rug, if you will, making it harder to identify and to address. So denial plays a role in acknowledging unhealthy aspects of the relationship. And it can be painful and challenging to bring those things up. So, which challenge do you find most difficult to navigate in relationships? And so I got establishing boundaries. I got maintaining independence. I got managing conflict constructively, communication, and then balancing personal and professional life. So if anybody wants to come off mute and answer that.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think you mentioned bad relationships. You said something about routine and boredom.
Yes.
Can you, I guess, maybe elaborate on that a little bit more, how that can incorporate into a bad relationship?
So we can, if you look at relationships and trying to put in work into those relationships, sometimes either not putting in your part, or the other person not putting in their part, it may become like it's boredom, like nothing is moving in the spaces that you have. And I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
But when we talked about like shared values, that would be something like that, having the shared values. If you don't have the same shared values, how can we both move in the same direction? So something
Okay.
like along that lines. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So while I'm still on the mic, mine is managing conflict constructively. I don't know how
Okay.
to do that.
Managing conflict. Okay, we go work it out. We go work out some things. Anybody else?
Mine would be balancing personal and professional.
Mm,
Um, I just think it can be challenging
hmm hmm
over and over again. I feel like you
Okay.
figure it out and then it becomes a challenge again. It's like next level,
Okay.
new challenge.
Okay. So balancing personal and professional life. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm both of what they both mentioned. And then I also feel as though I don't know, maybe I'm narcissistic, like I don't value, and that probably falls under respect. I don't value my partner's opinion like I should. If just to give an example, he may think that it would be me showing that I care if I would prepare a meal. And for me, it kind of falls under work life, home life balance. Um, I'm tired when I get home. So although you may feel like that would be my way of showing you that I care and I love you, I'm not going to do it because I'm tired. And so I'm kind of real cut and dry with it. Like I'm not doing it, period, and just deal with it. So I feel like I need to work on myself with that.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we got managing conflict, communication, balancing personal and professional life. That can be intense, especially if you're working from home. I know a lot of people, I've been hearing that often about having a difficult time, but also, and then being out the house and then coming back, those can be difficult times too. So let's talk about one of the biggest things is boundaries. Anybody got issues with boundaries?
Yes.
Uh-oh, come on out the woodworks. What's the issue with boundaries? What's your issue with boundaries?
Um, I think that I don't know how to say no enough.
Mhm.
That's my biggest one is not, or I may say no, but then it can be easily swayed to a yes.
Okay.
Or I feel
Okay.
bad when I say no. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So boundaries are just what we call them. They're like these big things that kind of tell other people how close they can get to us, and kind of like not necessarily how close they can get to us, but basically those boundaries are for you, right? Not for the other person. And sometimes we think like it's a way to keep other people out, but we'll kind of talk about that. So boundaries are like these invisible lines that we draw around ourselves to protect our well-being and maintain our sense of self. They help us communicate what we're comfortable with and how we wish to be treated by others. And so that's part of the boundaries. And those boundaries safeguard our mental health, they protect our self-respect, and they foster a healthy, more respectful relationship. With clear boundaries, we risk feeling overwhelmed, disrespectful, or even resentful. So you ever feel like somebody's asking you to do something and you do it, and then after you do it, you mad because you did it
All the time.
all the time, right? Right? And you knew you probably shouldn't have done it, but you did it anyway. And at the end of the day, you were upset with yourself, right? So you want to make sure that those are, because if not, you can become resentful in some of those relationships. And you definitely want to be able to, be clear about some of the boundaries. And so we'll talk about that. So a lot of different types of boundaries exist, right? There are several boundaries to be aware of. There's your emotional boundaries. There's your physical, your time, your intellectual boundaries, and material, right? Emotional boundaries are like that, protecting your feelings, while physical boundaries, of course, is protecting your physical self, your body and your space, right? Time boundaries help you manage how you allocate your time, right? And intellectual boundaries is to respect your thoughts and ideas, of course. So lastly, material boundaries concern your possessions and what you're willing to share. So let's talk about these boundaries and what they should look like, and how to set them, right? So setting boundaries might seem like it's a daunting task, but it can be broken down into like simple steps. You want to be clear and identify your limits and your expectations, right? You want to be clear on what you can and cannot do it. And if you cannot do it, and if it takes away from those things that I just talked about, those boundaries, the time, your emotions, and all those different things, then you need to be able to say that without feeling bad about hurting anyone's feelings. It is just to make sure that you're okay in those spaces. Because if you show up and been asked to do something and you're upset, right, it kind of shows in what you're doing for the other person. So you want to be able to own your own feelings, right? Acknowledge and take responsibility for your own emotions, right? Understanding your own needs, know what you need for your well-being and express it. If it's a break that you need, then say that it's a break that I need, right? Understanding that no is a complete sentence. Who got a problem saying no? You said you had a problem saying no. No is a complete sentence, and you have the right to say no without feeling guilty, right? Without feeling guilty about it, you can say no. Direct, you got to be straightforward and honest about your communication, right? Assert yourself, standing up for your rights and desires respectfully, right? Being able to say what it is that you actually need. Respect, mutual respect is the foundation of any relationship. So being respectful of your desires and the other person's as well. Individuality, right? Maintain your independence and your personal identity. And then evaluate that regularly, right? Reflect on and adjust your boundaries as needed. They're your boundaries, right? Only you can kind of set the line for how far you want boundaries to go. And then support. Seek your support from friends, families, or professionals if you struggle to maintain like clear boundaries, if you or healthy boundaries. Okay. Anybody got any
I
questions?
like that what you said about be respectful of your needs as well as the other person. I
Mhm.
think I know with me and probably a lot of other people, we take in consideration our feelings and our needs, the things that we need, but we don't take in consideration maybe what the other person is needing as well. So what you're saying is be respectful of both what my needs as well as other person's, because they may be feeling the same way as you're feeling.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
that's a good one. That's a good takeaway for me to really ponder on.
That's good.
I feel like I'm working on my phone today and I don't know how to go over to remute, raise my hand, or all those things. So I'm just coming off mute and jumping in
No worries, no
when I
worries.
can. But I think also with boundaries, and I heard you say something about Antoinette, that communications was one of the things as well. I think they go hand in hand. I think that, because when it's hard to say no, to set boundaries and you feel bad, I think communication will help you in those areas. So if you just let people know, and it doesn't always have to be on like a set, don't wait for a harsh moment to have this conversation, but just in one-on-one times when you're hanging out, when you guys are out, having a good time, eating dinner, discuss the things that make you feel overwhelmed or tired or whatever it is where you need to put those boundaries. So then when you apply your no's, and as she said, they're a complete sentence, now understanding is able to kind of fill that gap instead of like, well, why no? Like I'm tired too, or whatever it may be. It just kind of helps relieve that pressure of saying no, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Like
all.
that.
Because if I'm clear about my boundaries at the beginning, right, and I tell you about the boundaries at the very beginning, what my expectations are, what my limitations are, then sometimes we do think that everybody else is going to respect it. But if I tell you, then that is my approach, that you're going to respect what I'm saying. And I'm going to understand what your needs are, but I'm also going to make sure that I meet mine as well so that I'm not overwhelmed.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm. Cool. So communication. Let's talk about communication. Communication, I believe, is like the number one thing. You are right. I know we talked about that earlier about what does communication look like. And if you guys can tell, I love acronyms because it just get clearer and clearer and simple to the point when we're talking about some of these things. And so effective communication is essential for building any relationship, especially strong communication. It resolving conflicts and expressing needs and desires clearly. It involves key elements like listening, paying attention to what the other person is saying without planning your response while they're talking. Anybody do that? I ain't talking to y'all. I ain't talking. And does anybody do that? No? Okay. All right. All right. So clarity, being clear and concise in your messages to avoid misunderstandings, right? Having empathy, trying to understand like the other person's perspective and their feelings. Sometimes you can jump to conclusions before actually hearing the other person out and what is happening with them, right? Respect, valuing the other person's viewpoints, even if you disagree. Even if you disagree, everybody is not going to agree at all times. But even if you disagree, being okay with saying, "Okay, I disagree with what you're saying, but we'll move past that." Um, Non-verbal communication, being aware of body language, right? Eye contact and a tone of voice, which all can convey messages strongly as words can, right? So being able to talk about those things. And when you're talking about having a conversation with anybody, a deep conversation, taking a moment to reflect before responding, taking a moment to kind of sit back and think about your emotions, even if you have to write them down about what it is that you're feeling. And offering feedback, right? And understanding that if somebody gives you feedback and it's constructive, just pay attention to what it is that they're saying to you. Having an open mind, so being open to hearing and considering other points of view. If you realize I'm going along this is the same, right? The same thing. Listening, it is that mutual respect that we talked about before. Assertiveness, expressing your own needs and desires and opinions respectfully and clearly without aggression, right? So down here, of course, we have clarity, communicating clearly, being concise, being direct with what your words and your messages are intended to say, eliminating all the ambiguities specific about what we need or what we feel. So everything else that's in between all of the other things, being able to be clear about those things. So listening, moving on and listening, like I said, being able to talk and have open discussion, being able to say what it is that you need, right? And so, does anybody have any questions about communication?
I know I'm talking a lot, but this is a good one for me. I needed this. So assertiveness for me is the biggest thing. Because I think I may say something, but then I'll kind of pad it with something else to kind of make it sugar-coated. And yes, I don't have to be mean, but also I don't have to be extremely sweet. And so that's the thing that I kind of struggle with, because if I'm not mean about it, then I'm sugarcoating it. So being assertive, like putting my foot down and saying, okay, this is what I need, this is my boundary, but still saying it with, I guess, care and, empathy and respect is a big one for me, because I'm either like being too nice or not being nice at all. There's no in between.
Okay. All right. Being too nice or not too nice. So when you leave out of having communication with people and leave out, does it have you feeling drained at times?
Yes, it does. And I think about it for days and days and days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And most times when that communication is not right, the other person has pretty much gone about their day. Have you ever realized that? And you kind of still sitting with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
that's me too.
You still over there fuming and they going about their business. Right. Right. So being able to, and that's probably because you did not get your point across of what you were trying to get, or the other person wasn't listening to you. I will give you a clue about how to have a healthy communication exchange with someone that will kind of keep you out of the mode of the back and forth with them, right? So usually when you're talking to someone and we get ready to have a conversation, what's the first thing that you tell them about?
What they did wrong.
What I feel.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Which should be, right, who was that said what I feel? That's
me, Shavonda.
right, Shabbat, that's where we should be at, right? But most times the first thing is you did this. And without a doubt, if you say you in a conversation, that just throws the whole conversation out, right? Because then no one is really listening. So being able to have open communication, open dialogue, and setting those clear boundaries before time so that everybody is aware of what those boundaries, your limitations are, what you can do. You want to be able to say that up front so that it doesn't become a conflict later on. Okay.
That's good.
So, I'm sorry. What's
I was saying
say?
that's good.
Uh-huh. And so when I think about the relationship we have with others, it is really about the relationship we have with ourselves. It really boils down to how we think of ourselves. Are we important enough not to let someone drain energy? Right? Are we important? Are we looking at those things? And so I would be remiss if I did not speak about, what that looks like as far as like being stressed out in some of these relationships, right? And not telling you about the mind body, that mind body thing, where if you have these issues, whether they be mental health, like stress or anything like that, they show up in those relationships, right? They show up in those relationships, but they also show up in our bodies. The tension when you're around or you're not able to say what you need to say, right? Anybody ever feel tension? Anybody ever feel like, oh, I just gotta go lay back down because I can't take it no more, right? That is all of those things that we harbor in our body, right? Because of those relationships that may be unhealthy. And so we want to always think about that, what that looks like for you. So cultivating self-love, right? So I always say I like this part because yes, we talk about self-care all the time, and that is great. Our self-care is part of self-love, but having a deep understanding of who you are and what your limits are is, the foundation of most healthy relationships, how we treat ourselves in the end, right? So that's self-love, engaging in reflection, and understanding ourselves, right? Independence in relationships, being able to be independent in a relationship and be able to be who you are, right? There are some relationships that are unhealthy where the lines are kind of blurred, where it's just like that person is always, they're always together, right? Being able to be who you are outside of your relationship is very healthy, right? Having empathy and compassion for others, being resilient in conflicts, modeling positive behavior, right? The things that you want to come to you. I am a firm believer in manifestation and being able to speak those things into existence that you want to have in your life. So making those quality connections and different things of that nature. So you want to start by setting aside time for your self-reflection, setting a time aside for that, right? Being able to sit. I know in the morning times, I am able to get up and just sit still for a moment before the day starts, because the day can be so draining and so busy from the time that my feet hits the floor until the time it's time to lay my head on the pillow at night, right? Anybody else feel like that? It's going. It like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's quick like too, right? So being able to start that and reflect on your values, your dreams, on the things that truly bring you joy, and finding ways of doing that, right? Because that is going to help you become a better person. Practice self-care regularly, of course, right? So making sure that you're able to practice, going to spas, reading books, and all those other good things. And then learning to say no, right? Setting boundaries is a crucial aspect of self-love and independence. It's about respecting your limits and prioritizing your well-being. So see how I said boundaries was about everybody? Boundaries is really about you. It's about you prioritizing who you are and what you can take, right? So being able to do that, celebrating your successes, no matter how small, right? Recognizing your achievements helps build self-confidence and foster a positive self-image, right? And so embracing solitude, spending time alone, right? Sometimes we can spend time alone. Sometimes it can be scary, sometimes sitting and kind of having all these different thoughts, but being able to spend time alone can strengthen your sense of self, right? And supports the development of your independence. So we definitely want to be able to do that.
You
I
think
have
in
a
the time
question.
alone? Oh, go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, sorry. Um, is it possible to overdo that and then become, I guess my concern is it feels like for my partner, maybe I'm too strong on the no's. I don't feel bad when I say no about something. It's like no is no. I make sure I have my solitude. I take my time for myself. I'm doing all of the things that you're saying, but does that, if my partner takes that as rejection and all of these other things, does that just mean I'm with the wrong person? Or am I going too far is what I'm trying to figure out.
So when you're saying that, you're saying no too often, is that what I'm hearing? That you're saying no too
Yes.
often? Okay. And is it making the relationship better, or is it making it worse because you're not saying anything?
It's making it worse for my partner. It's not affecting me per se, because I'm doing what I want to do, or I'm not doing what I don't want to do. So it doesn't negatively impact me, but it makes my partner very unhappy.
And so I would say, when I think about that, I think about when we talked about those shared values and talking about those values and what they mean to you. When we talk about choosing partners and different things of that nature, we're looking at, the values. Does his fly match my fly? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about what those things are that we really, right, we really like. And you want to know if that person is compatible. Is that person moving in the same space that you're moving in? And if not,
Okay, yeah.
going back and asking, right? Because sometimes we do a lot of things where we assume things. And then we kind of shut the conversation down without getting the other person's like understanding what that other person is. So remember, we kept talking about being empathetic about other people's feelings as well.
Okay, thank
You're welcome.
I was thinking about the time in solitude. Do you think it's best to like sit in the silence with yourself, or would it be okay to like have music or read books or really just think about what you're needing in that time of solitude?
Yeah, it just depends on what it is that you need, right? It depends on which. So some days I just need a breath of fresh air and I'm gonna go outside and walk, right? It just depends, but it is me making that for me, that time for me. So when we talk about me time and all those different things, it's taking that time out. Now, when it becomes where you are withdrawing yourself from people, then there may be some additional things that are going on that you may need to talk to a professional about.
That's
So being
good.
able to, if it's withdrawing, that's something different, right? Because then we have to talk about other things that may be impacting your day-to-day. Okay. So, and this is probably where we're gonna have a good discussion real quick here. I know it's kind of getting short on side, but an open discussion of how do you prefer to resolve conflict in a relationship?
Well,
Mhm.
for me, with my husband, I don't resolve conflict. I just let it go until
Uh-huh.
I can't hold it anymore. So I know that's not healthy. I'm working on it.
Uh-huh.
In friendships, I have not always been the same with my husband, but here recently I have been being a little bit more vocal about it and trying to let people know how I feel. And then I do think that what I learned from that was thinking about how I feel, but also thinking about how they feel, and kind of that, like you said, the mutual respect. Um, and really think about what I'm saying before I say it. So, yes. But I
I was
guess
going
I
to,
don't know if that answers your question or not.
well, I was going to say, for me, I actually don't have one single way to resolve a conflict. It depends on who I'm with. I mean, children is one way, adults, there's another, siblings, another, my parents, another. So it's not one way for me to resolve anything, but I do make sure, and especially in my advanced adult life, I do make sure it does get handled. I do let people know how I feel and expect a discussion.
So yeah,
For
being able.
me,
Uh-huh.
I need to take 5. And sometimes that's 5 days. No, I'm just kidding. Not 5 days, but I felt that, Moosey. No, but I did know I came a long way, because sometimes it was 5 days. But I think I always need to take time. And I think, I don't know, that helps with me a lot, because I'm a sensitive person. And I just need time to digest what was said, what I said, what was heard, how I may have heard it. Sometimes I'm even a little slower to speak, and I think that kind of gets on some people's nerves. Like, we may be in a conversation and I'm biting my tongue because I'm trying not to say the things that I would have said some time ago, and I'm trying to learn a better way to respond. And so for me, I take time. I need time, because I need to know what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and how it can be received. So, um, and I don't know, I feel like it took a long time to get to this space, and I don't even know if it is the best, but I know that it's working better than what better than what was, right?
Better than what was. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Because
Chanel
sometimes you can
said,
hold it.
oh, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Chanel said, I avoid conflict at all costs. I'd love to speak, but I'm not at home. But she said she avoids conflict at all costs.
Okay. So that avoidance can sometimes eat away at you because you still haven't been able to say what it is that you feel, right? And so that's part of that boundary, right? Being able to say, I'm going to say what it is that I feel. And it's not a matter of factly, like, I'm going to tell these people what I feel. Like, that's not the way you but you do want to be able to, to openly discuss what it is, what's the conflict, and why is that conflict bothering you, right? And how it's making you feel, not necessarily that it's somebody else doing something to you. So that's good. Uh-oh, let's see, did I go back or did I do that twice? All right, so yeah, so like I said, identifying the underlying cause of what it is, right? Finding out what is that conflict, what is it that is bothering you? So, and being able to address it in a manner, again, that's respectful, that's kind, in those manners, the way you want someone to bring it to you, right? Communicating, right? Listening actively, not listening to respond, but listening actively and hearing what that person is asking you for, right? And then finding a common ground, right? Being able to say, let's just make some type of medium, come to a happy medium, some resolution on how to resolve the matter. And then explore possible solutions. Again, that's not negotiating and compromising, finding ways to actually do that is helpful with problem solving and all those other things. And so in order to achieve this holistic approach for women's health, we really got to look at mind, body, and spirit. Like, where are these relationships taking us? Are they good relationships, right? We believe that every woman deserves a happy and a healthy relationship, right? You deserve to have that. So thank you all very much. I think we write F4. Good job. And so I got my information on this last page. And so I don't know if you want me to stop share, Antoinette, or do you want me to?
Keep it right here for a moment. Ladies,
Okay.
if you want to connect with Dr. Greer, her what is this called? QR code. QR code is here, as well as her phone number and the email address to reach her. I definitely want to give y'all that. And I'll also send out an email after this with her information as well, in case you can't catch it during this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Greer, so much.
Thank you.
And y'all give me a second because I can't multitask. So give me a second to switch over. You can stop sharing now.
There it is.
Okay. Y'all, my brain doesn't work properly. Hold on, I'm just gonna share my screen really quick. I can't talk and do this at the same time. What? All right. So again, thank you, Dr. Greer, for this wonderful information that you provided to us. I'm sure all of us have learned something today. And I appreciate everyone for coming to join us. And that leads me into our next topic, which is empowering women to set healthy boundaries in April. So Dr. Greer kind of touched on healthy boundaries. We're going to deep dive even more into it next month. So please join We Empower Her next month for that. We also have a Mother's Day giveaway coming up in May for Mother's Day. So if you want to nominate your mother or a mother figure, it could be an aunt, it could be a grandmother, it could be someone that you've grown up with or someone that you know that is taking care of someone else's children or that has been a motherly figure in your life or someone else's life. Please email us at at Antoinette, ANTOINETTE.Walton@weempowerher.org. And I'll send that out an email as well. And just send us a short story about why that woman deserves to be honored. And we will have 3 prizes to give away on Mother's Day. Also, if you would like to follow us, We Empower Her. We are on Facebook at We Empower Her 21, as well as Instagram, We_empower her, as well as you can email. And if you're wanting to donate to us so that we can continue to provide a lot of the services that we do, we're trying to do a lot more this year than what we've done in the previous years. And so we do need your support to help with that. So if you would like to make a donation to any of the things that we're doing, you can use this QR code to do so. I do also want to let y'all know for coming up in the next few months, we do have in June, we'll be doing Empowering Women in Pride. So June is Pride Month. So I would like to discuss some things about how to lift up and build those women in that community as well. Also, Empowering Women in Wellness will be in July. We're also going to be doing a silent auction. So we will need people to donate time or goods to that. We'll put out some information about that later. In August, we'll be doing Empowering Women in Aging. So talking about, as we get older, some of the things that we can do and how to empower women in that aspect. In October, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we will be doing Empowering Women Out of Domestic Violence. And then in November and December, we'll be doing Toys for Tots and Empowering Women in Gratitude in November. So we have a lot going on for the next few months. Well, not a lot, but each month we do plan on doing something so that we can continue to empower our community of women. Again, I really appreciate everyone for joining today, and I hope that you gained something from this experience. And this will be recorded, so if you missed some of it, it will be recorded and sent out to everyone as well. It'll be on YouTube, at We Empower Her on YouTube as well. Let me see, someone. Okay. And then I was just looking at the chat. All right, y'all. Well, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to turn off the recording. And